Let's quickly preview tonight's Spurs Heat matchup and then bring on Dr. Ryan McCorkle to talk about Wemby, minutes restrictions, and so much more.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Hot Rod.
And I'm RC from the San Antonio Spurs.
And you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. Hope everybody's having a great week. It is hump day. Still over it. And we'll get to that weekend very shortly. Hey, you guys are the everydayers. We appreciate you subscribing wherever you can. Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. The list goes on and on. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Hey, what are we talking about today? We're going to be going over just quickly tonight's Spurs Heat game 1 of the Rodeo Road Trip for your silver and black. Then bring back Dr. Ryan McCorkle. It's been a while since he made a stop here at Locked On Spurs, but he's going to discuss to you why it was important for the Spurs putting Wemby on that recent minutes restriction, not playing a back-to-back set, and so much more. So that's coming up next. But first, your Spurs and Heat get going tonight in Miami. Game 1 of the Rodeo Road Trip. Let's talk about it. Spurs come into tonight's contest 10-40. Rewind the clock here, by the way. They're on a 4-game losing skid. Hopefully they snap that. They're coming off a home loss versus the Cavaliers, 117-101. If you're at that game, it was just a disaster in the second half. Wemby watch, he recorded 19 points, and 14 rebounds while dealing with Texas allergies. And Jeremy Sohan had 2 points and 9 rebounds. Osman had 7 points. Trey Jones added 7 points and 8 assists. And Devin Vassell had 22 points in the loss. Injury report, everybody's good to go. Only thing is Dominic Barlow is out. He's fine. He's just been assigned to the G League, so he'll be there. But everybody else is good to go. Keep in mind also this is the first game of a back-to-back, so watch that. But for Jersey Watch, the Spurs will be in their City Edition jerseys tonight in Miami. As we always do, we start off on the enemy side, the other side of the court, see what's going on with the team, and that being the Heat. So what's something to watch for? Well, keep an eye on that scoreboard, especially for Miami at home. The Heat are 11-4 when leading at halftime in their gym. So chances are if the Spurs are down on the scoreboard, it might not be good for the Spurs ultimately for the final buzzer. So keep that in mind. Also, it has not been good for the Spurs in recent history against Miami. The Heat have won 6 of the last 7 overall games versus the Spurs. Yeah, the Heat give the Spurs a lot of fits. Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler. Hopefully the Spurs can counter that tonight and get that out of their way too. They're losing to Miami. Coach Spo, great coach, very, very good coach, very underrated in the NBA. I think he doesn't get looked at as one of the best, although I think he's getting there already. And also, maybe this bodes well for the Spurs. The Heat at home versus Western Conference team, they are below 500. They are 3-5. Now, for your silver and black, not that good. We talked about how the Heat are against the West teams in their gym. What about the Spurs on the road against Eastern Conference teams? Well, they're 2-9 on the road versus the East, so it doesn't bode well for the Spurs. And as mentioned, this is a first game of a back-to-back. They got Miami tonight. They got Orlando tomorrow. The Spurs are 3-5 on the first game of a back-to-back, so they're below 500. So keep your eye on for that. And that is your quick Spurs Heat preview. Coming up next, we have Dr. Ryan McCorkle. He's going to be discussing Wemby and why it was important he was on a recent minute restriction, the back-to-back, why yoga may have played a factor in Wemby coming back and being able to play, not being out for an extended period of time. So we're discussing that and more. That's coming up next on Locked On Spurs. And drive and patience, that's what brings home the winning trophy and is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and so much more. They got it all at eBay Motors. So whether you're into speed and power, or maybe style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the right prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. That's ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. Hey, I want to talk about America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members, PrizePicks. They are the easiest, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and it's you against the numbers. That's it. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 players projections or stat projections, and you can start watching the winnings roll in. Look, they got it all at PrizePicks. You got to get it. They offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account this basketball season. They have weekly promotions like big payouts like Taco Tuesday, where each Tuesday PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. Look, PrizePicks is really simple to play. You can make picks and submit entry in less than 60 seconds. That's why you got to go get PrizePicks right now. Hey, I have it. You should have it too. Go to PrizePicks.com at PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use code LockedOnNBA for your first deposit match up to $100. That's PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Code is LockedOnNBA. That'll get your first deposit match up to $100. Again, PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs, rejoined by Dr. Ryan McCorkle. Make sure to follow him on X at AustinERDoc. Dr. Ryan, it's been a while, man, but you know, just from scheduling and holidays and whatnot, we're just glad that you are back. Everybody, he is with the St. David Emergency Medical Center. He's also with the Backstage Concierge Practice. He'll talk about that in just a few seconds. Welcome back, Dr. Ryan.
Glad to be back with you, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
You're making me jealous with all that's surrounding you right now. All those sneakers.
It's the first step is admitting you have a problem, Jeff. So this is me admitting I have a problem.
Well, look, you have worse problems than that. I mean, I'm pretty sure that is perfectly okay with you and your family, you know, to be involved in that kind of problem. Sneakers. Hey, your kids love it. Your boys, they were showing off their sneakers and everything last time y'all were on.
Oh yeah. Now they've gone off into their own taste, so I have to get what they like, which is Demon Slayer customs. So, but it is what it is. Yeah. I'm glad they're getting into it too.
All right. Well, for those of you who don't know, Dr. Ryan McCorkle, he comes on quite a bit during the regular season to talk about Spurs players' health, injuries, why or not maybe the Spurs do certain things medically, and we're going to dive into that. Now, everybody, we get it. We talked about this before we hit the record button. That Wemby's minutes restriction, the whole back-to-back thing is pretty much seemingly over. We don't know because the road trip, there's a couple back-to-backs. But at this recording, it seems like the minutes restriction is not as strict, and he's been playing in a pair of back-to-backs already. Now, Dr. Ryan, a lot of Spurs fans were flipping tables, upset. He's 20 years old. What's he doing on a minutes restriction? He's what? You gave him 2 extra minutes instead of 25. Now he's at 27. And what's this about him not playing in back-to-backs? He is so young. Could you help us get into the mindset why Spurs medical staff decided to really put the clamps on Wemby's minutes? Why was that a good thing? And why was it a good thing for him to take caution in back-to-back situations?
Well, I think that answer is twofold. We've talked in previous podcasts several times about the rookie wall, and we're getting right up to that number of games. Where it does become difficult, where even Wemby playing pro in France hasn't played this number of games at this level this many times. So kind of decreasing the overall number of minutes may extend the number of games before you hit that wall. But what I think that, like you said, the Spurs fans may be more, that may cause more anxiety thinking about in those terms. But so what I think the real color and context to add to this is that right ankle sprain where he stepped on the ball boy at the Mavericks game. So there was a right ankle sprain there. It wasn't, high grade or, anything terrible, but we also have talked in previous podcasts about foot and ankle problems in players of Wemby's size. So I think when you put those things together, that's where it is totally reasonable to have an abundance of caution, because not only in players of his size having the foot and ankle problems, but ankle sprains in general in basketball players of all sizes, the more you have, the earlier on, the more lax the ligaments become, the more prone you are to have repeat injuries. The literature says 25 to 40% of ankle sprains can become chronic, where they start rolling all the time. You see Steph Curry wearing ankle braces, for the last 10 years of his career. I think they're trying to avoid that with Wemby. So ankle sprain on top of rookie wall.
Yeah. And I'm assuming the minutes restriction is simply just to alleviate the wear and tear. And kind of a sub question, or not really a sub question, but just an opinion that Spurs fans had is, and I'm pretty sure you hear this a lot in your practice, but he's still young. He's 19. He's 20 years old. Why are they handling him like this? Doctor, he's still a kid. He should be okay. How does age, or does age really even make any, factor into deciding what path to take with an athlete like Wemby?
Well, I think we're trying to ramp up into a career where you're eventually going to be playing 38, 40, 42 minutes a night. But you're taking your time getting there because of what we talked about with the rookie wall. And when you put on top of that this injury that you don't want to become chronic, that is a function of his age. He's very young. We don't want ankle sprains to mar his entire career. The more tired you get towards the end of a game is when you tend to re-injure that ankle. So I think we're trying to avoid him getting to that point of exhaustion and just having something silly happen. And the number one activity for those types of ankle sprains is rebounding. 35% of those ankle sprains occurred during rebounding. So that's something that Wemby, is all going to be down in the paint a lot of the time, going after rebounds. End of the game, tired, going after a rebound. That is the recipe for coming down on somebody else's foot and turning it, and then it's missing 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah. I was in the locker room recently, right before they left the rodeo road trip, and Wemby wasn't feeling good. We'll get your thoughts about what he was dealing with in just a few minutes. But I noticed that he was sitting on a chair. He had a timer on his locker, and his foot was in a big barrel of ice. And then during the chat, you hear the buzzer go off. He told him, "Okay, just give me 2 seconds." He turned it off, and he lifted it out of that ice. What do you think the purpose of soaking his ankle? And it was the ankle that he tweaked in that Dallas. Well, not in the Dallas game, but prior to the Dallas game. What was that all about?
Just the C in that ricin therapy we've talked about for forever. Also, just as an update in the newer literature, they're calling it price therapy now because yeah. So they're adding braces and percussion sleeves into that mix. So, but what he's doing is something that's age old. So back since I'm 47, when in college, whenever we rolled an ankle and had a bad one, that's what you started with was 15 minutes on a timer, stick your bucket into an ice water bucket, and start making the alphabet with your big toe, A, B, C, D, to try to get that proprioception back, which is that the fine motor control that swelling is inhibiting. So what they're doing is he has this injury. He's just played a game. It's going to naturally swell because there's still some injured tissue. So the quicker you get it into that ice, the more you control that swelling. You think maybe we would have advanced beyond that since I was doing it in 1995, but that's where we are.
This kind of connects to a lot of the chats that we've had in the past, but when he rolled that ankle pregame versus Dallas, he seemingly seemed to pop right back up. He didn't go crumbling down like a sack of potatoes. He wasn't in pain or nothing like that. He seemed to be playing well. I mean, sure, he walked it off a bit, but he wasn't in writhing pain. So it leads me to this question / PSA for people listening. How much of that yoga probably helped in that situation for Wemby?
Yoga helps a lot in that situation. You've seen him stretch those ligaments out, so it's not as tight. There's not as much micro tears in those ligaments around the ankle. So I'm sure that helped a lot. Also, what you see in a lot of NBA injuries is adrenaline. Adrenaline of the competition and being in the game allows you to finish the game, and it's later when that wears off that the pain starts. It takes a little bit of time for that swelling to set in as the body sends those red blood cells, platelets, all those white blood cells to the injured area to begin the healing process. That's when the swelling starts. That's not immediate. That's delayed. So probably it was an hour or two after the game where it really started, man, this doesn't feel right, starting to swell.
Yeah, he seemed to get frustrated as the minutes restrictions / not playing in back-to-back started adding up. You know, I'm pretty sure you saw the interviews, the videos that the Spurs release. You know, he's like, yeah, you know, I still got to do this. You know, but then also he will say, but watch out, NBA. You know, once that minutes restriction is moved away, you know, I'm coming. Do you think perhaps, you know, the Spurs probably overly set his minutes, like, you know, they extended it too much out of caution, or it was needed? Because he seemed like he was ready to go soon thereafter the injury had happened.
Well, that's part of being a 19, 20-year-old too, who's never had a prior injury, is feeling like you're ready to go, wanting mentally to get back in there and get some experience, get that competitive juices flowing, is different from your ankle being back to 100%, feeling like it did before there was ever an injury. And again, we talked about this several times. What is the upside currently? Yeah. You know, with the Spurs' current record, where they are in the standings, what is the rush to get him back if it could lead to a repeated injury? Is there an abundance of caution? Sure there is. Is there larger context for the Kawhi situation where you do not want to have the perception that you are rushing him back, has a repeated injury? That has a worse downside than saying, hey, we're going to take an extra game or two of minutes restrictions. But also, I think Wemby may, you know, his camp may have that in the back of their mind, that instead of, because of the Kawhi situation, not being like, oh, I'm not ready to come back, he's letting people know, I'm ready to get back on the floor. I want to do this. You know, I'm into it.
Yeah, exactly. And the back-to-back situation, I'm pretty sure the same situation as you're talking about right now, low managing, you know, not aggravating the injury that he suffered against Dallas. And I mean, talk about a freak injury too. I mean, pregame, and a ball boy, you know, got him. I mean,
not in the literature under most common ways that ankle sprains happen to basketball players.
Yeah. And you know, he was you know, like we all know, he was put on a minutes restriction for quite some time. Back-to-backs was a no-no. It got to the point where we as media were in the room saying, okay, you know, which game he's going to pick, the first game or the second game of a back-to-back. But he seems to be okay now. I mean, he tore up the month of January. He was the rookie of the month for January, finally, after losing to Chet Holmgren back-to-back. Then, you know, we're going to get into this after the break, but just you know, get your thoughts on this. Another thing that fans were moaning and just pulling their hair out about was, look at Zach Collins. His injury was way worse, but he came back faster and he's in back-to-backs. Is it unfair to compare players in their bodies that way?
Yeah. Each player is different, and the way their body responds is different. It's not just, you don't want it to be cookbook. That makes it seem like you're not putting a lot of thought into it. You want to see how the athlete's body is responding. And, you know, a veteran like Zach Collins, you know, can also have more input into, you know, hey, I'm ready, versus someone who doesn't have an experience of going through a full 82 game season and doesn't know the wear and tear that's coming on their body the way Zach Collins does. And if, you know, he says, I'm ready to get back out there, then, you know, it kind of is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah. All right. And on that note, we're going to leave you with the Zach Collins talk. When we get back, Dr. Ryan is going to talk to us about what exactly happened to Zach Collins and his injury and why maybe perhaps he was able to come back. He gave you a little bit of a sneak peek there, but we're going to be discussing that and more with Dr. Ryan McCorkle when we get right back.
This is Emily Swallow, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Hey, I want to talk to you about Game Time. You want to go to gametime.co right now, everybody. Look, you shouldn't have to worry about your tickets to the next big event. Game Time is the fast and easiest way to buy tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, just theater events, everything you can think of or you need a ticket to go to, you want to go to Game Time. They got killer last-minute deals, views from your seats, best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. So they even have flash deals, zone deals. Again, those views from your seats in the venue, lowest price guarantee, as well as event cancellation protection and job loss protection. Game Time has your back. That's why you got to get the Game Time app right now. You can also look at all the upcoming events in your area. Spurs fans that are in San Antonio, check out the next Spurs game. Get ready for it. All there on the Game Time app. And those prices I was talking about, they're all in prices. You get the total up front. So you're getting a great deal before you check out. And you can buy tickets in seconds in just 2 taps. Remember I was talking about those zone deals? Well, you pick the section, and then Game Time will pick the seats for big time savings. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the section in a row for less elsewhere, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Yeah, you cannot go wrong by getting the Game Time app. Look, you even get tickets for that event that you're looking for, even hours after it started, only at Game Time. You take the guesswork out of finding tickets. Buying tickets should be easy. That's where you got to go to Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Hey, San Antonio, you stay up late catching the end of the Spurs game and in need of yourself of a pick-me-up? Well, look no further than Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. Mudslingers is locally owned independent coffee shop, and they're proud to make delicious coffee for our community. They do it fast, they do it friendly, so you can get on with your day. Whether you're in the mood for a latte, cold brew, Red Bull infused lightning bolt, they got it all. They have drinks for every single taste in San Antonio. They also have a wide selection of dairy alternatives, low-calorie options, even caffeine-free drinks for those who just want to take it easy. You want to follow them on social media, I'm telling you, go do it right now. Follow them at Mudslinger SATX. That's on Threads, X, Facebook, TikTok. The list goes on and on. Very interactive. They have a wide selection of drinks for you to choose from at Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. Friendly staff, mini donuts, the OG, and they have it all. You should be going to Mudslingers every single day, San Antonio. Swing by Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee for a tasty and convenient caffeine fix. Located at 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive near 281 to 1604. Open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Once again, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive near 281 to 1604. Open every day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Go there right now. Why? Because life is too short for bland coffee. And we're back right here with Dr. Ryan McCorkle. Make sure to follow him on X at AustinERDoc and on Instagram at AustinEMDoc. And you catch up with all things that is going on with him, from his sneakers and so much more, including the backstage concierge practice that he'll talk about in just a few seconds. And I'm still jealous at that closet you're in right now. What are the ones that are above your head? They're all black, like right above your head. Yeah.
These are the new Kobe Black Mambas.
Look at that, man.
I like the all black for when I go to play basketball. This is what I wear to and from the gym. I don't play in them, but that's what I wear getting there and back. Those are. You're probably
gonna get fans asking you like, so which ones are you ready to depart with, and what's your price?
Well, that's the thing. One in, one out now. I can't add any more. So if I want a pair, I got to sell a pair.
All right. But hey, Dr. Ryan, Zach Collins, we mentioned him in this previous segment, Spurs fans saying, well, look at Zach, kind of the same injury, but yet he came back faster and, he's older and Wemby's younger, blah, blah, blah. We heard it all. But what exactly happened to Zach Collins? That then that ankle thing got him. I was a little worried too because of his history of injuries. And I said, oh, no, not again after this guy. He made a tremendous comeback. But what exactly happened to Zach Collins, and what kind of light can you shed on it for Spurs fans?
So this is a bread and butter classic basketball injury, what they call an inversion ankle sprain. So when your ankle inverts, rolls. The classic, I was playing ball, I came down on somebody else's foot, I rolled my ankle. That's an ankle sprain. It's graded 1, 2, and 3. Those are, we've come to see in medicine, we like to grade those things to put them into boxes. Nothing fits well when it's pigeonholed into boxes, but the way it goes is the 1s and 2s are more minor. The grade 3s are where there's some tearing of the ligaments,
Mm-hmm.
the ankle's unstable. It can even extend into what we call the high ankle sprain, where it starts to come up the leg, where the two large
Mm-hmm.
bones meet. They're kind of pulled apart a little bit. That's what they call a high ankle sprain, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a 6 to 8 week injury. That
Mm-hmm.
is not what he had. He was down with a grade 1 or 2. He missed 3 games, and he's coming back now.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is what we talked about before, that if you don't take care of it right, if you don't brace it, wrap it, that about
Mm-hmm.
25 to 40% can become chronic. He doesn't have a history. I look back at his injury history. He's had several injuries that have kept him out, but ankle hasn't been one of them. So
Okay.
this is kind of new for him. I'll be interested to see as he comes back, is it tape under a sock that we don't see, or is he actually wearing an external brace like Steph Curry does?
Yeah. Again, I've been in the locker room. I didn't see a brace on him unless he took it off before we were allowed. And, they just either the manager put it away. But he seemed fine, good spirits. There was no ice bucket next to him at all. But again, that's in his locker. We don't know what happened beyond that, in the back rooms. But he seemed to be okay. Definitely he was being feisty with Donovan Mitchell. That's for sure. That edginess didn't go away. But yeah, classic injury. I think I've even gotten certain those. During pickup games back in my younger days, like fall. You land and whoop. Your ankle goes out. But again, he came back relatively faster, and it looked like it was much more serious than Wemby's ankle injury. You alluded to this in the previous segment about how you can't really compare two players and their injuries in their body and everything. But also there's the factor of this too, Doctor. He's not, no offense to Zach, but he's not the cornerstone of the franchise now, is he?
That's exactly right. As we said,
Yeah.
that the full picture, the full milieu with Wemby is we're also mixing in the fact that he's a cornerstone of the franchise. We're talking about getting close to the rookie wall, and we're talking about ramping him up to be able to play 40 minutes a
Mm-hmm.
night in a year or two. So that's not the case with Zach Collins. He signed his big contract. He's in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of it now. He is a workhorse for the Spurs and a great player, but again, like you said, not the cornerstone of the franchise. And he's been around long enough to know his body. And if the swelling wasn't as great and we're not worried as much about long term, he feels good. He's making
Mm-hmm.
a large amount of money. They're going to get him back out there on the
Yeah, he
floor
is.
and getting some minutes. The fact that he's a
Mm-hmm.
big man and down there getting rebounds does mean he's more prone to
Right.
having that happen again, like we talked about. And I
Mm-hmm.
think you see two other quick points. That the landing zone rule in the NBA is all about preventing this exact type of injury, because and it came about because of Zaza Pachulia and Kawhi,
Right.
where you put your foot under a shooter and they come down on that ankle. This is a dreaded basketball injury. It happens when
Yeah.
you rebound just because there's a lot of bodies in close proximity. But out on the perimeter, that's why you have to give people that landing zone.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
Yeah.
and those of us who have played, like you said, when you play pickup, once you've rolled your ankle like that, you remember that feeling and that nausea
Mm-hmm.
that precedes the pain starting. And when you see it on television, when you see somebody's ankle roll, I mean, it just the flashbacks and PTSD is all basketball players are just like they cringe when they see that.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, Wimby recently said he was dealing with Texas allergies. That it was his first time actually experiencing it. It hit him, and he definitely was congested. Again, we were at his locker room. He was so impacted by it, he didn't come out to the main conference room to do his media chat. The Spurs had to ask all of us to go into the locker room and then huddle around him. And sure enough, he's there in a hoodie, and he looked like Kenny from South Park with the hoodie pulled on. You just see his little face like that. Yeah. Uh,
Nobody kill
yeah,
Kenny.
yeah. You're looking at that doctor, dealing with allergies. If you were there next to him, what would you tell him to do? Just go over a counter kind of thing, or or just his body getting used to it, because he came from France. Now he's coming to a different climate in Texas, and it finally caught up to him, doctor.
Welcome to Central Texas allergies. Boy, that is one of the things we deal with the most, right? We call it cedar fever here in the Austin area. But it is something we battle here. It's a wonderful place. We have wonderful weather, but we are notorious for our allergies. As a physician, I see this literally 10, 12 times a day, people coming in. And what I tell people is the best, most natural way to deal with this is something called a neti pot, N-E-T-I. And it's been used, since ancient times in India for thousands of years, but it's a small little teapot. And you mix kosher salt, because regular salt has iodine in it, and that will burn your sinuses. Regular salt and warm to hot water, and flush the sinuses on a daily basis. First few times you do it, it's miserable. It's like you're waterboarding yourself, but it really does help, and it's a non-pharmaceutical way to help with these Central Texas allergies. After that, if it's really severe and short term, we do short bursts of steroids. Reduces the inflammation, reduces the allergic response. You start taking a daily medicine like Zyrtec, Allegra, Claritin. I don't have any commercial interest in any of them. They're all the same as far as I'm concerned. But one of those on a daily basis. That's kind of how we deal with the allergies. If it becomes chronic and severe, you go to an allergist. They do what's called a scratch test, where they test you for about 140 different things with small scratches on your skin, and see which one causes the allergic response. They then mix up a serum that slowly exposes your body to larger and larger doses to decrease that allergic response. That's for people where it's so severe that it impacts their daily lives. Sorry, that's a quick and dirty how you approach Central Texas allergies. Yeah,
and the neti pot, it looks like a genie's lamp, right? Does it look like that? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, I think I've seen those like at, the CVS or Walgreens. Yeah, I think they have them. They're usually in the front counter, like neti pots. And I say, hey, it looks like a rub it and you can make a wish if a genie comes out. Make a wish of no allergies. Yeah. He is Dr. Ryan McCorkle. Make sure to check him out on X at AustinERDoc and on Instagram at AustinEMDoc. We need to know what's going on, Doctor, your neck of the woods with Backstage and, St. David's Medical. What's going on?
So I'm at St. David's Medical Center. I'm at Austin Emergency Center. And the Backstage Medical, we haven't been doing a whole lot with shows coming through recently. Our musicians have been pretty healthy. I suppose what we have been spending a lot of time on is the directorship for UT football and Austin FC soccer. We've gotten our 2024 schedules, joined the SEC, so staffing those doctors and all our nurses and paramedic staff to get ready for those events. So that's been taking up a lot of the time, and you'll see some posts there. If you follow me, like you said, on Austin EMDoc on Instagram and on Threads, that's where you find me more these days. But that's kind of where we're spending most of our time right now.
Yeah, I love looking at that as your social pages outside of X, because like the musician photos. This I'm like, he's standing next to Bruce Springsteen. He's standing next to Pearl Jam. Like, who is this doctor hanging out with all these Hall of Fame musicians almost daily and weekly?
Tell that I really am a huge fan. Like the music means so much to me. Lyrics mean so much to me that I'm really into like Pearl Jam, Jason Isbell, and Bruce Springsteen, because those lyrics have meant a lot to me in my life, and I can kind of get that vibe. So when I do get to take care of them as their Backstage Medical doc, we can kind of make more of a connection other than just patient doctor.
See, more reason to go check him out at AustinERDoc and on Instagram at AustinEMDoc. Make sure you do that right now. And then also on, I think it's the same one for the Threads, right? AustinEMDoc, it's the same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, all right, there you go. So make sure you do that right now. Hey, before we let Dr. Ryan go, I want to thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get a podcast. We'll be back tomorrow. I think Hector Ledesma, he's going to be returning, talking all things silver and black. And check out Locked On Sports Today, 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, national, local, regional. All the hosts are there 24/7, only on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today. Go subscribe right now. So for Dr. Ryan McCorkle, making me jealous with all those sneakers he has in his closet there, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.